That's bad. The original Khanage intro's back. I finally pressed the right button. I finally done it. Thank you very much for everyone tuning in. People, you're very, very welcome to another pre-match Khanage. And this time it's the big one. Well, used to be the big one. And I think slowly but surely it's becoming the big one again. After many a year of us taking our anger, our frustration out on poor Arsenal. Finally, we've got a fixture that is going to be, I think, closer than people think. It's Arsenal versus Liverpool the right way round because it's at the Emirates. You're all very welcome. Please smash the like button on the way in. Please welcome my panel, of course. First, welcome my co-host, of course. Doesn't need an introduction, but Steve is joining me as usual. Steve, hope you're very well.
Yes, mate. I'm good, thank you. I'm looking forward to the game at the weekend. And as you say, we've taken a lot of points off Arsenal in recent years, and they're looking good at the minute, aren't they? So the game will be interesting at the weekend, that's for sure. It's probably more of a measurement for us than them, given the current status quo. So we'll see. I'm sure we'll get into it with these boys and have a few little debates, a few discussions. I'm looking forward to it. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. And of course, Dan is a regular on my channel as well. Thank you very much, pal. You all right?
Mate, I'm all good, man. I'm woke up now from your intro. I mean, my God, that's serious. Good. I'm saying, you can't fall asleep on this channel, Grizz. You know what I mean, just keep playing that if anyone does. You know what I'm saying?
Tell you what, I'm looking out for people. Anytime everyone's like, gonna just blast that fucking intro.
Just blast it, man.
Again. Yeah.
AC/DC it in their ears. You know what I'm saying? It's got to be done, bro. It's got to be done.
That's a good shout. That's a good shout. And I think, unless he corrects me, Lee's making his debut on my channel. My God, Lee's such a busy man and hard man to get hold of. But so welcome, my man. Hope you're doing very well.
I'm good, thank you very much. Right, and I'm looking forward to it. So we meet again, but this time with a little bit more optimism than in the past. So I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. We've got Dan's Red Army in the house. Big up to the legend, Mr. Judges, and first time on your content. Big up, Grizz. Are we scared of Liverpool? Are we what? Bring on Sunday, up the Arsenal. Fair enough at all. Well, I'll start with you guys as you're the guests. Dan, we've done, I'd say, about 5-6 previews since we've known each other in terms of Liverpool and Arsenal, home and away, or cup, or whatever the case may be. And every time I'd say Liverpool have been the favourites, possibly bar two. Do you remember when we had the injury situation and we went up to you guys in the League Cup? That was 50-50, right? Mm-hmm. We ended up turning you over. And this week, for the first time, I'd say it's 50-50 or possibly you guys favourites going into this game. How do you see it though, mate?
I think if you're looking at it from a bookmaker's point of view, then Arsenal will be favourites. If you look at it from my point of view, I think we need to be careful. I've seen a lot of people talking this fixture up, saying that Arsenal are going to have it to Liverpool and it's going to be a nice, for finally going to be a kind of 3 points that we're all confident in getting. The reason I don't share that, and I've been slated a bit for it, is because this Liverpool team cannot afford to lose many more games in a row if they want any sort of respectful season. Now, I think it's already an underachievement because you've got to be going for the title this season. That's done, I think, in my eyes. Man City have got it. So it's where you're going to go now. And I think if you was to lose this fixture, I think a lot of people will say, what are we going to talk about? What this Arsenal team can do? When really it should be, what is this Liverpool team actually going to try to do now? Because you can't keep losing these games. The other thing in terms of it, Grizz, as well, is this fixture has not been kind to us, like you've rightly said, in the last few seasons, particularly away from home. It's been a battering. Yeah, last season I went, it's not pretty, mate, right? At home, I would say apart from the COVID year where you'd already won the league and you were on the beach and we beat you 2-1 with a Reece Nelson game, it's been pretty much Liverpool's court most of the time. Jurgen Klopp's done a number on most of our managers, whether it be Emery or, of course, Mikel Arteta. This seems a bit different only because of the momentum that we have and the bad form that you have. Because the teams, let's be honest, in terms of what Liverpool are going to put out, it ain't that much different than what we've seen over the last couple, bar maybe Sadio Mane. Everybody else, I expect to see. I expect to see a back line that looks pretty similar to the one it's been played in the last 4 years. I expect the front three to be dangerous. Your midfield, although albeit has not been great of the last few or the start to this season, I don't expect it to be a complete and utter change of players I've never heard of. So this is going to be a side that's going to give 110%, and Jurgen Klopp will not accept this run of form to go on much longer. So I think it could be a dangerous one. And I think, as we go on into this stream, I'll tell you why I think it could be dangerous for Arsenal in terms of where I think the strengths might be for you and the weaknesses might be for us, and likewise where your weaknesses might be. So I'm looking forward to it, man, and I'm buzzing for Sunday.
Steve, what Dan said is pretty much. I agree with everything he says, pretty much. I mean, I don't know what your thoughts are going into this game. I've just come off the back of, and I know you have as well, for Redmen TV, and I've just done a couple of bits for 90 minutes and for AFTV as well, in terms of both fan bases are feeling the opposite of normal feelings going into this game. And it's a little bit unusual, isn't it? But it is what it is. You have to deal with these pressures or insecurities you may have. How are you feeling? Because I know you're one of the more positive, optimistic. I didn't use that word. You're one of the most positive and half glass full type of guys.
I'm a half glass full type of guy for life, mate. Not just for Liverpool.
Best way, sir. Best way.
I'm just interested in listening to Dan's comments there. Arsenal played 8, won 7 and drawn 1. Lost 1, sorry. Liverpool played 7. I've also only lost 1. Both teams have lost to Manchester United. It's the 4 draws that have curtailed Liverpool's title challenge so far against teams that all of us in this show would have expected Liverpool to have beaten. So with the game in hand, we closed the door a little bit, but that game in hand is Chelsea, so let's not get above our station with regards to that. That's not an easy game. That's not a given. It feels weird. It feels weird because I don't think anyone really expected Liverpool to currently be in 9th place. And as Dan quite rightly says, staring at the title challenge going out the window. For what it's worth, the way Manchester City are playing, we're in Usain Bolt territory where he's expected to win it and we're all playing for 2nd place. If they carry on scoring goals that they are, they'll win this by a canter because they've got the know-how. And that's the thing for Arsenal. You're learning how to handle pressure being at the top of the table. And after 8 games, being top of the league is tremendous. And it shows you how to have faith in a project and not listen to some of the sort of fickle fans and get rid of people ahead of their time. Arsenal now have an identity. They have a footballing plan. It's quite easy to see. They're pleasing on the eye to watch. They've got some really good players. And in Saliba in particular, they've got a superstar who's going to... We don't know where his ceiling is, to be quite honest with you. So with regards to that, league tables always say this, league tables don't lie. Arsenal are top of the league because they deserve to be. You can't really play down the fact that Arsenal's been a great hunting ground for Liverpool. And if you're at the training ground at the AXA this week, that will be the theme of the conversations between the coaches, the manager and the players, is that over the years, Arsenal have had an expectation games against Liverpool are tough. And they have been, and they need to be at the weekend. So yeah, it feels weird. It's kind of role reversal, if you like, from last season because Arsenal started really badly and recovered really well. We haven't started well, and we need to recover really well. So it feels kind of weird for me too. But make no mistake, Grizz, Arsenal are the real deal. That they will get Champions League this year. Of that, I'm absolutely convinced. These are the games now Arsenal have got that tell you where their project is, because they played one team that has been a nemesis over the years, which was Manchester United, and they didn't get over the line. This is another game that historically has been a tough game for Arsenal, and the psychology, without bringing out the speakers and playing You'll Never Walk Alone in training sessions, is about getting over the line against Liverpool, because so many of those players have come out badly in games against Liverpool, and it's a psychological hump you need to get over. First of all, to win the games that a nip and tuck and you're not expected to win. And second of all, if you're going to accomplish anything as a team, you can't be scared of anybody. And that for me is the challenge for Arsenal.
Lee, you and Dan invited me onto your channel last season, and I was humbled by the invitation, and we spoke. And I remember, and Dan knows my feelings towards Arteta and the whole process and everything. You know, he's smiling now, but look who's smiling now, kind of thing. You're smiling as well now, kind of thing. But Lee, I wasn't taking the piss when I used to say, and people, Arsenal fans used to think, oh, he's taking the piss. But I thought I could see an identity, what he was trying to do. When Arteta took over, he had to change the culture of your club because you had a lot of flash, you know, social media, happy, savvy, but not performing on a pitch. The attitude stank. You know, the fans were unhappy with the lack of effort and everything. He was a young man, pretty much. First big job. What a huge job taking over the Arsenal. What's your thoughts on him since that we done that show? I don't know if you remember, but I was very positive about him. And you was a bit, yeah, I see it, but it needs time. How do you feel now, Lee, after 10 games?
Well, you know, we're top of the league, so you cannot be unhappy with that, like, you know, and he's done really well. Listen, you've always been very, very positive on the Mikel Arteta thing, and you know, when we spoke that day, you know, you genuinely believe in it. And I believe you, and you said, look, go with it. And I think that us Arsenal fans, a lot of us have. Look, he's very, very fortunate to be in a job after the run that we had at that stage, but it's a different Arsenal now. And we was on that event at the beginning of the season. Do you remember? And I actually said when they asked me where Arsenal finished, and I said we finished second. That was without Liverpool a ball being kicked. And people sort of laughed at me and said, "Oh," and I said, "No, you wait till you see this Arsenal team. You know, wait till you see Jesus, wait till you see Saliba." And to be honest, I didn't. And what I'm seeing with Arsenal is what I expected. What's changed the focus a little bit is Liverpool's not demise, but like the drop of form, because I expected Liverpool to be up there with Manchester City and Arsenal battling it, like, you know. Now from our point of view and Mikel and all that, like, you know, hopefully there's no speakers in the dressing rooms or on the training ground at the moment, like, you know. But what I hope that they're banging on is saying, look, we win this game, 14 points clear of Liverpool. Now, if we go back to that day in on that event thing, and I said, "Oh, by the beginning of October, we'll be 14 points in front of Liverpool," they'd have carted me off into a mental one, like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, but you know, how much has he been drinking? But that is the reality of what it's like now. And if you think about it, and this is why this is, I think, a much bigger and pressure game on Liverpool, where I think last week against Tottenham was more pressure on us.
Yeah.
This one here is that the following week you've got Manchester City at home, like, you know. So it's like, you know, lose to us, my word, you know what I mean? It's not only worrying about obviously the championship's over, the top four is going to be really tough. So Liverpool have got a massive week in front of, and also on this.
Is that Lee's Wi-Fi? Is he there? No. Dan,
he's gone, man.
Hopefully he comes back. Dan, Lee's building it up nicely there in terms of, it's almost, and we hate this word, I know, but it's almost a bit of a free hit for you guys. Because, all right, every week is a test to see if Arsenal can go to the next level. But it's almost a free hit for you guys in terms of you're not really expected to be in a part of a title challenge. So if you lose this, it's no big deal for you lot. But what I mean by that is you can go out there and really play without any fear, any trepidation. You can go full confidence and test yourself, regardless of our form, still one of the big boys in Europe, I'd say. And this is your proper litmus test, right?
100, man, 100. And I don't agree with free hits in football, man.
Yeah,
playing a football game. Do you know what I'm saying? But I get where you're coming from. We're not expected to be in a title race, and this will, in my opinion, get people saying Arsenal must be in a title race. Now, I don't really understand what a title race is, and obviously I'm being silly when I say that. Are you in a title race in October? Are you in a title race in May? For me, you're in a title race in May. If you get to May and you've still won the title, you're in a title race, right? So it's way too early for me to start talking about the title. I was expecting us to get Champions League football secured this season as a good season. So because I've seen in the last couple with Arteta, and you know my thoughts on this process taking quite a long time. But this season it has gone bang, and with a big B. It is really looking good. So you're right in terms of what you're saying, but I think all Arsenal fans will walk away disappointed if we don't pick up 3 points, because you're there for the taking. Whether I believe that you are going to be a completely different Liverpool without kicking a ball in this game, you're there for the taking. Your midfield, it looks poor. Van Dijk does not look like Van Dijk. Trent, he's never been able to defend, but at the moment, because Van Dijk can't defend either, it's looking terrible down that side. Also, you've got front men that I think at the moment, if I was to suggest without a ball kicked that Firmino was going to be the one banging your goals in, I would have said you're crazy. Yeah. I didn't know Jota was going to be out in defence, and he's now back and he always scores against Arsenal. But there's been something wrong with some of the other players in that front three, and whether that's the midfield that's had a problem with that as well. It just doesn't look right at Arsenal. One of my favourite players for Liverpool in terms of consistency is Fabinho, and he looks like a great uncle at the moment walking around. It's just mad. I've not seen him play so bad off the ball. So something's not right. Something's gone on, and you're there for the taking. But I go back to my original point. This is not Wycombe Wanderers we're playing, right? This is a fantastic side that Grizz, I've had a lot of respect for over the last 4 or 5 years of what Jurgen Klopp's done. And I think personally, if there was to be any game that I'd fancy them to turn up, it would be this one for 2 reasons. 1, they like playing us. And 2, they have to. You cannot do this much longer. And I know that I take Steve's point that you've drawn 4 games. You haven't been losing crazy amounts of games. But this is Liverpool, and you should not be in 9th. I had you for 2nd place this season, and I had you close to Man City. I thought Man City would win the league. And last season, I had you to win the league. Yeah. So I've had a lot of time and respect for this Liverpool setup. And I just thought as soon as Haaland's signed, done. Premier League title's gone, right? I said that before, ball was kicked, and it's proven to be correct. But I never had you off like this, man, as a start. So I think you'll pick your form up. I don't think you're going to have a mad season. I don't think it's going to be like, oh my God, Liverpool are going to come 9th. Mad, crazy, too good. Yeah, quality manager, quality team still. This fixture, for me, is going to show what Arsenal team is all about and what Liverpool side's all about. And just to finish off on what you were saying with Lee, you know my thoughts on this project and why it's taken. I wasn't a big fan of it to start with, and youth projects. The new players have taken us to that level in terms of Zinchenko, Gabriel Jesus, and Saliba. Sorry, man. Tell me another centre-half who is this good at 21. You have to go back to Rio Ferdinand for me. He's looking incredible, mate. So, yeah, man, it's good at the Arsenal at the moment. It really is.
Yeah, we're going to go on to some of the individuals that stood out for you guys. And obviously you've mentioned one, but there's a few to speak on, which is fair enough. Lee, before the Gremlins got you were saying something, but I wanted to ask you, because I asked Dan, and I want to ask you the same question. And I think you led me onto the question in terms of this is a bit of and as I said to Dan, we don't like the word free hit. But you're right, the pressure's more on Liverpool in this game. Do you think that will help you guys? Because I sense when we play you, the pressure always gets to you guys for some reason. Do you think it's different? Do you feel different?
I do feel it's different this time. Sorry about that. My internet just went all funny there, so I don't know what happened.
No, you're right.
Yeah, I do. Listen, I said the thing last season when it was a free hit, because it was a free hit to a certain degree, because going up to Anfield or playing Liverpool, over the last few years, I've always felt, we'll be lucky. The best we can get is a draw, you know what I mean? Or going up to Anfield, not get a spanking, you know what I mean? But there were a lot of Arsenal fans that'd be happy with a 1-0 or a 2-1 defeat, you know what I mean? All of a sudden, the 3s and 4s. But now, for the first time, I think Arsenal, and when you say about it, and I think this is a good point, Liverpool have won the last so many games. Why? Because they've been the better team. They've form and whatever like that. All of a sudden, for the first time in a very, very long while, Arsenal, I think, are a better team at this moment in time, and also form going our way. So it's a lot better. Now, I do think you come into the Emirates is a tough place to go, even though you've made it look easy. But you're gonna come there, and I guarantee you'll go, wow, this is a different Arsenal team. And I do think there is a little bit of pressure on Liverpool. Steve made a great point there. I haven't lost that many games, Liverpool, at this moment in time. Drawn a few games, and they're not as bad as what people are making them out to be. That's a great point. They probably should have won last week. You know what I mean? Now, the games that they would have won they would have won those games a couple of seasons ago. Just something's just not quite right at Liverpool at the moment. The one thing about Liverpool is, and if you said to me, I'm a betting man, am I betting that they're going to win the title? No, but am I betting that they're going to get to the top four? Yeah, I will do. But from Arsenal's point of view, you're in a little bit of a dodgy position at the moment. Good teams, what do? They nail it. And that's the thing that we will do with Arsenal. So first 20, 25 minutes would be interesting to see where they're going to come. Listen, if Liverpool come and beat us, I wouldn't say it was a shock. You know what I mean? Like, people will go, oh, well, Liverpool are on their way back and all that. But ultimately, you're struggling a little bit at the moment. So it's important from Arsenal to make sure that you continue to keep struggling. Because it's like, I'll be honest, if you win at the Emirates and then go and beat Manchester City, you were looking at a completely different ball game here, like, you know. So what we've got to do is make sure that when we play, we beat you Sunday, then we beat Leeds, and then we can, on the way home from Leeds, we can say, well, whatever happens at Man City and Liverpool is a good thing for us, like, you know. But I do think there is a little bit of pressure on Liverpool. Listen, I say that with a pinch of salt because Liverpool have been under pressure for the last 2 or 3 seasons going for titles. So they're used to pressure. The players are used to it. Klopp's used to it as well, like, you know. But I think that over the past, with Klopp and all that, he's always had a little bit of magic stardust somewhere along the line to get him out of it. I do feel, I don't know how you guys feel about this, that I'm watching Jurgen Klopp, and you know I'm a big admirer of Jurgen Klopp. Something's not quite right. He's not quite happy with his demeanour and everything like that. Whether that is, I don't know, transfers earlier on or whatever, I don't know. He's a little bit argumentative times in press conferences, a little bit gritty. I haven't seen that from him before. He's an engaging character, like, you know, so let's be honest, you know. So it'd be very, very interesting. But I just got a feeling that Arsenal, it's the best we've ever been going into the last few games against Liverpool. And I will say this now, like, you know, you're not quite your best. We've got to, if we're going to beat Liverpool, this is the time to do it, like, you know, right? And that's my worry. If we don't, when the bloody hell are we going to beat you, like, you know what I mean? That's how I see it. So, like, you know, and that's why I feel not overconfident, but I'm looking forward to the game. You know, do you know when we play Liverpool, Man City over the last few years? I haven't looked forward to those games because you know you're not going to bloody win them, or the best you can hope for is a draw. I'm looking forward to it because I do genuinely believe we've got a very, very good chance of winning the game.
There's nearly 300 of you guys in here. I really appreciate the support. Love you all. I would love you even more if you smash, hit, touch, tap that like button. Do whatever you got to do. Everyone says smash a like. I don't want you to ruin your phones and your laptops and whatever. Just tap it. Same effect. I get the like. Everyone's a winner. Steve, I think Dan and Lee, you can sense the excitement and the confidence, and rightly so from their angle.
Yeah.
And everything they've said, I pretty much was nodding along, not because the fact they're on my channel and I'm trying to be all lick ass. I actually believe what they're saying. I actually agree with what they're saying. When it comes to Liverpool, me and you are pretty always on the same wavelength. And as the weeks progressed, as the days progressed, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we're up to Friday now, right? Do you remember Sunday, we weren't looking forward to the next 2 games, really? Mm-hmm. I'm kind of looking forward to it now because there's something interesting Lee said. And he said, and I agreed with him, we're used to big pressure games like this, where almost our backs against the wall. We're in a situation where we need to raise the levels. We definitely need to raise the levels if we're going to get a positive result this weekend, aren't we?
Totally. And, you know, we looked at the league table at the end of last season and we thought, right, who's going to be the contenders this season? Chelsea sort of ended up the mess they were in with the change of ownership and some of the interesting decisions that were made through their transfer window, and then the Thomas Tuchel situation. Who was going to emerge from the pack to challenge Liverpool and Manchester City? That was the question on everybody's lips. And I thought Arsenal were heading towards something with their project, and it turns out it's them. We've had to be nigh on perfect to challenge Manchester City to get to 90 points plus 3 seasons out of 4. Then in the 4th season, we took 28 out of 30 points with 2 Sunday League players playing at centre-back. If you're correct about the quality of them, Reece Williams was playing for Kidderminster and ends up playing 10 games at the heart of Liverpool's central defence. You're right. We're used to big games. We're used to pressure. That pressure's been absolutely savage from the day Klopp started to lock horns with Manchester City to right up to the end of last season, where we were pretty much an hour away from immortality. Right, you don't become a bad side overnight. I think everybody in this room, from the conversations I have, know enough about football to know that at some point Liverpool will improve. If they go to Arsenal and don't improve on previous performances, then we will have questions about where their heads at in terms of getting themselves together for what will then be a top 4 race, and probably still is a top 4 race. So I have to take a little bit of issue with the comment that Liverpool are there for the taking, because they're not really. This is a game where they will turn up for. They will be prepared for this game. Slightly different in regards to some of the things that Arsenal have had to look at this season. The front three is a bit more dynamic than the people that you've played. Tottenham, I thought, were dreadful. You won't go to Arsenal, put 2 in midfield and expect to play football against a side that plays with 3 decent midfielders. Releasing Granit Xhaka from central defensive responsibilities, central midfield defensive responsibilities, to getting up and supporting the front play and scoring goals is a massive difference. That guy's a liability as a defensive midfielder, but when you take that pressure away from him, you've got to say fair play to him for riding out the stuff that happened with him, all the shit with the chucking the chairs away and swearing at the supporters. And he's come good. And he looks good in Arsenal's midfield. And Thomas Partey looks good in Arsenal's midfield. And Odegaard looks good in Arsenal's midfield. And slowly but surely, the pieces of the jigsaw have come together. But Dan, we're well aware that this is a massive game for us. And it's kind of, it shouldn't be season defining at this stage, but it kind of is, because the 14 points you guys speak about, and I get that, is a big gap to make up. Now, last season we turned over 14 points against Manchester City, and I'd argue that that's a bigger task than turning 14 points over anybody else in the league. But I'm not seeing from this Liverpool side a team that can win 15 games in a row on current form. That will make the difference. There is no better place to start your recovery than in a pressurised game away at Arsenal, where if you're Liverpool and you've got aspirations to be involved in winning trophies, you've got to put some of the young pretenders in their place. And you've got to do that. That's what Liverpool have got to do. We've been saying for weeks we need to start our season. Well, going away and getting a positive result against an Arsenal side that quite rightly sits where it sits is exactly the type of thing that a Jurgen Klopp team would do. And I get Lee's point. Lee is under pressure a little bit at the moment. He is a bit fidgety. He is a bit testy from time to time. Got to stop sticking microphones underneath managers' noses straight away after football matches because they're emotionally charged. We've got to recognise that you've got to take what they say with a pinch of salt. Things haven't gone well. Our midfields look flat, is probably being polite to them. But I think we go there. I think we go there with we're not going there to try and to get a draw. We're going there to win the game. Yeah. When you're top of the league, teams don't come to you to win games. They come to you for damage limitation. You're finding that out now as Arsenal fans, and quite rightly having a great season. And, you know, how confident the Spurs when they turned up? Well, you dominated them for 90 minutes. So they never really turned up with true belief they could win the game. That will be different against Liverpool. That will be really different. I don't expect Liverpool to play the formation they used against Rangers. With all due respect to Rangers, they're probably a top championship side in comparable terms if you look at the players they've got. But they raised their game because it was the biggest night of some of their careers under the lights at Anfield in the European Cup. Why wouldn't you raise your game? We'll see what happens. We're ready. We'll come. This is a big test for us, and it just might be what we need to push ourselves back into the running, because make no mistake, the way things are, we're all playing for top four other than Manchester City. That's genuinely how I see it at the moment.
Yeah, it's pretty mad already. Even like 10 games gone, we're just looking at that freak of a robot, of a whatever he is, right? Lab-made fucking cyborg, right? He's just every week scoring goal after goal after goal, and the rest of us look like playing catch-up. But Dan, a lot of people are asking, what are your predicted lineups? What are your preferred lineups? We're going to get right into that, people, after you've smashed the like, of course. But Dan, I wanted to ask you, Arteta's done a lot of bad things, we know, in the past, but he's doing a lot of right things this season and end of last season. We're not quite at the end, but during, like, your calendar year's been good, right? What are the main significant changes that he's made tactically, personnel-wise, transfer-wise. Choose anyone you want that has been, in your opinion, the key to this rise or success. I don't want to call it success because you're going to say, "Oh, calm down, Grizz, it's not success." But you know what I mean. Like this place has brought you in a better place. Okay, give me two. I won't make it hard for you. I'll make it easy for you. Give me two things that you, player-wise, tactically, whatever-wise. What's the two things he's done? Apart from the series that he's made, All or Nothing.
Yeah, I ain't getting involved in that one, man.
No.
The two things I'd go for would be style of play and the transfers that he's brought in. I didn't really see a style of play up until last season, if I'm honest with you, Grizz. I think the first couple of seasons was really a bit mixed. He started off with a 3 at the back, won that FA Cup by playing counter-attacking football, smashing it up to Aubameyang. And that didn't really work for some of the Premier League games. Then we would change back to a back 4 and it was not working. We were leaking goals. We weren't scoring goals. But I started to see a pattern of play. And when those players got injured, that's what ruined our top 4 chances last season. We were having to play most of the season with Cedric, Nuno Tavares, Lokonga or El Neni, Eddie and Ketia. It was not good enough last season. Rob Holding is another one at the back that we had to play. So what we've done moving into this season is we've kept that style of play, which is now a 4-3-3, which sees Ødegaard and Xhaka in a more advanced role from Thomas Partey. This is when everyone's fit, by the way. But we're having those triangles and passes and play. But what he's done is he's allowed partnerships to turn into units. And what I mean by that is we don't have a partnership of Gabriel and Saliba. We have a defensive unit now. We don't have the Partey and Xhaka pivot. There's actually the Partey, Xhaka and Ødegaard partnership. And then likewise, you've got that front three that's just an absolute menace. The work rate in it is sensational. Considering they're all under the age of 25 in that team, bar Thomas Partey, I think, in our first 11, and obviously Granit Xhaka. The majority of them are under the age of 25. It's mad.
Wow.
Absolutely crazy, right? So what you've seen is that style of play and the lift that those 3 players have brought to us in Zinchenko, Saliba, who's not a new signing, but obviously is a new player for the first team, and Gabriel Jesus has lifted everything. I think there was only Kieran Tierney that was our most decorated player. That's now been added by Zinchenko and Gabriel Jesus. And I think what that's done is brought a winning mentality to the club. And you've seen it in the first 8 games. There's a difference about us. There's a difference in shift of mentality. We're definitely seeing from the manager learning from mistakes. And I think that it's clear to see now, it will be clear to see if we've learned from the mistakes of the Manchester United game, which was we dominated them, we kept the ball, but we were naive in certain parts of the game, which lost us that battle. And I think that when you go 1-1, we had not seen for a while us keep it calm and try to then see out the game and win the game. And if it's 1-1 at Old Trafford, I'll take it. So be it. Don't go and be naive and lose the game 3-1. The other thing that's changed, Grizz, in terms of the mentality is that last season when Arsenal went 1-0 down, done. We ain't going to win. We did it once against Wolves last season. Went a goal down, we come back and we won 2-1. So far this season, we've gone a goal down against Fulham. We turned it around and won 2-1. When Aston Villa and Leicester come back into the game, not by beating us, but by equalising or by getting goals back, straight away we hit them. And we see with Spurs yet again that when they get the penalty and are looking like they're a little bit on top at part of that game, we see in the second half us blitz them and come back into it. And that, for me, has been the biggest progression from what I've seen of the last 2 years under Mikel Arteta. Because whenever we got beaten down, we either crumbled or we just couldn't get ourselves to 3 points. We were lucky to get one if we were lucky. So that's probably been 2 of the biggest things I've seen in terms of progress. We're starting to see now this word process that we keep hearing start to turn into progress finally. And I think they're the biggest things for me in terms of mentality.
I like that. Process into progress. I'm fucking nicking that. I'm nicking that.
Take it.
I'm not going to give you no credit. I'm not going to give you
for
no
free,
credit.
bro.
I am. I love that. Process into progress. Do you see that, Lee?
Oh, it's very good.
It's proper. But everything that Dan said, do you agree with? And do you think it's like the mentality because of the players he's brought in as well? Because I think that's a fantastic point.
Yeah.
You've now got 2, I don't know if you guys tell me otherwise, 2 league champions in there. I don't know if anyone else has won a title in any other country, but Gabriel Jesus and Zinchenko have won the league in this country. They know what it's about. They know what it's about, having the right mentality, the attitude, match preparation on and off the pitch, because you know they must have had that at Man City. They don't fuck about over there. Yeah. And now they brought this into your squad, which was known to be a bit of a, what it was known to be, not the most professional. it's totally different now, Lee. Is that the major difference for you?
The major differences, and I do agree with what Dan's saying there, but two things that have changed Arsenal Football Club: two players, Jesus and Saliba. They've changed it, and you only had to watch yesterday's game with Jesus. We're 3-0 up or 2-0 up, 15 minutes to come on, cup to go. He comes on and he runs around like it's the first minute of a Premier League game. Now, what that does is it just shows you people sitting on the bench, look at him doing what he's doing, and he's a star man. Now, there was a part in that game when Marquinhos lost the ball on the 18-yard box. He chased back to his own 18-yard box. And I look at that and I say to him, well, wow, he's obviously watching Jesus. Now, if Jesus is doing that, I'm only a young kid, I better do that, So we're not, look, these young kids are not watching players of in the past that, oh, I'm a superstar, I don't have to do this work, I don't have to do that. You've got players like definitely with Jesus, that he's prepared not only to do the glory stuff, he's prepared to do the dirty work, he's prepared to chase, he's prepared to hassle, he's prepared to do things for the team. And I think that's a big key for it all. He's not going to go in there and stroll about and everything like that. And I thought that was a mentality thing. Is fantastic, and it's raised the bar. Now, that's a thing that Liverpool have done over the years, and you have to admire them for that. Worked, talented side Liverpool, but they was prepared and did work harder than the opposition. Didn't matter who they were. So when that happens, and you've got talent. What happens, and that's what's happening with Arsenal now, and I think that's a key thing. Mentality is all there. The manager instills that as well. Of course he does, and what I think is very, very important in this Mikel Arteta thing is that the players have bought into it. Took a little bit more time for me to buy into it, and Dan, we're not 100% sure of it, but more importantly, the players have. The players have gone into this philosophy, whatever you want to think of it, and the fans have took it on board. I've got to say this, a bit like Liverpool, because I think Liverpool I relate to Liverpool and Arsenal very similar to certain things as clubs, as the culture and things like that. They're not money. They think it. Liverpool have always had that thing with the songs and they never walk alone and everything like that. Arsenal are doing the same. They're engaging with the fans now. Like songs after the game, which are relating to the players. It's all very, very clever sort of stuff. It's sort of stuff that's been going on at Liverpool for a very, very long while, and it works. Yes. You feel close to the players, even though you're not. Now, we've not had that for a very, very long time. We've not had that for I can't remember. Yeah. And it's a massive, massive thing, And I see it when you go to Liverpool. You get the fans up for the game. You want to get them involved. And I think that's something that the club have looked to do. And I've got to give Arteta credit for that, because he's seen that and wanted to do that. So it's very, very good. But I do think that these two guys, not so much Saliba in that thing, but Zinchenko and definitely Jesus, you're sitting here and you're thinking, wow, he's won 4 Premier League medals and he's prepared to run 30 yards back to stop a fullback getting a crossing. And I think that's pivotal.
It is, it absolutely is. People, I could only afford Dan for 20 minutes. It's Friday night Dan, you see. So Friday night Dan has to go. So before he goes, we've got to get a prediction of him. And then us slightly elder lot will carry on, because Friday night don't mean F all to us anymore. So Dan, give us your prediction. How do you think this is going to go?
Well, first of all, pleasure as always to coming on. Great to meet Steve as well, and always a pleasure to talk with my good friend Lee. But I'm going to go. So it's a head and heart thing, isn't it? My head would not be surprised. My head would not be surprised if this is a draw. But I am going to use my heart and go 2-1 Arsenal. I think this will be a tight game. I think it'll be a tough game. I think that if we play the way we've been going, we should have enough. My only concern, and you can discuss this when I leave, team news for Arsenal, I'd play Tierney all day long. I'd play Tierney ahead of Zinchenko. I love Zinchenko, but positionally, he don't do it for me against Salah and Alexander-Arnold, who apparently everyone can laugh at because they're rubbish now. I ain't going to be laughing too hard, because they will get space behind Zinchenko, because Emerson Royale and Richarlison did at the start of that game last week. So for me, I'd go Tierney. He's not going to. He's going to go Zinchenko, who I love on the ball, and he's a great inverted the way we play and etc. But for me, Tierney would be the guy that I go with because he's better defensively. But I'm gonna go head 1-1, heart 2-1. So I'm gonna go in my heart 2-1 Arsenal.
Listen, you're a legend. You're a lovely bloke. I'm going to see you on Sunday. I've lined up the kebab shop. I'll see you soon. I've sorted it all out. Leave it to me, son. I'll see you in a bit. Nice one.
Hero.
Take care, Dan.
In a bit. Take it easy, guys.
Take care. All right, lads. Let's get down to business. The serious fellas that Friday night. It's all about football chat. Sod going out and about. Steve, we've got a weather. You know how, like, when Arsenal come to us and they talk about weathering that storm at Anfield.
Yeah.
I have a feeling we have to do something like that at their ground because they have created a really good atmosphere, like Lee was saying, the environment, the crowd are really up for it. They've got the songs blasting. They've even got some, Lee, what are they called? You've got a little section of the fan base, something ultra.
Yeah, they got like, oh, blimey, got me now, like,
Ashburton something?
Ashburton, they're saying Ashburton, like
something. Someone in the chat, let us know,
Ashburton boys are saying they're called, like,
yeah,
they're fantastic. They're fantastic, you know.
So it's going to add to the atmosphere. It's going to create a hostile environment. Steve, we're used to this. We've been to grounds all around Europe in the last 4 or 5 years. Hostile atmospheres, not in the best of forms. Teams flying. I remember, and I'm not comparing it, Arsenal to Salzburg, but do you remember we went to Salzburg a couple of seasons ago where we had to win and the atmosphere was out of this world? Even Villarreal, actually, we can talk about last season in the Champions League. Do you know what I mean by that? You know, Sunday, we're going to have to stop this habit of conceding thirsty.
Agree. Interesting, just on Dan's point about Zinchenko, he's great on the ball. Whenever Manchester City put him in against Salah, used to amuse me because he got a lot of change out of Zinchenko. That goal where he took everybody on and smacked it across into the far corner, he was included in that. I agree. Tierney's a better defender than Zinchenko and would probably fit the bill against what appears to be our dominant side of attack, which is the right-hand side. I do agree with you. We need to start well. I'm not sure Arsenal come out all guns blazing because that makes them open, and that's one thing you don't do against Liverpool. Arsenal can afford to be a little bit pragmatic to start with and make sure, because in recent years, Liverpool have scored 2 or 3 goals in like 20-minute spells and the game's gone. And you have to learn by those experiences. And you have to say, even though we're not the sort of all-firing, all-conquering Liverpool side of recent years, we're not far away from it. And if you're not careful and you're not clever about how you approach a game, you give a team confidence. When Liverpool have got confidence, Liverpool are dangerous. But the front three they've got, they're all athletic, they're all mobile, you know, and as good as a defender as Saliba is, and as good a defensive unit that they've got, they'll ask you questions if you give them the opportunity to. Arsenal's midfield is key for them controlling this game, because I think we go back to the tried and tested 4-3-3, and I think the game will be won and lost in the midfield. If you're gung-ho and you try and blow Liverpool away, you're asking for trouble. There's not a team in the land that's tried that. There's a reason for it, because they recognise the dangers of doing it. This is a tough game. We will have to start well. We can't, like you say, we can't afford to concede the first goal. The slight change in shape, do we do it again? I'm not convinced we do, because you can't, as Spurs found out, if you take 2 to Arsenal, 2 in midfield, you kind of get overrun a little bit, and that's been a feature of games against Liverpool this season when we've had bodies in midfield we didn't want in there or weren't defensively minded enough. Arsenal have the danger of that midfield 3 units strong. You know, Odegaard finds pockets of space to play in, so whoever plays in the 6 for Liverpool will need to be alive to that. Partey's looking good again, scored a great goal, so his confidence is up. He's a great link player and he's physically powerful, and you know. And then you've got Granit Xhaka, who I said before is having a real good season because of taking the defensive responsibility away from him. Only thing I would say is, because of the way Liverpool play, I don't know if Arsenal can afford to play with the same freedom in midfield that they have of recent weeks. If you commit guys forward to support your front 3 and you leave 1, we're the quickest team in transition. We're one of the quickest teams in transition. Trent's quite capable of hitting a 40, 50-yard crossfield ball to Diaz. If he gets on the wrong side of Arsenal's defence because they're pressing and they're pushing and they're trying to win the game, then we'll get some joy from that. it's going to be really, really interesting to see tactically how Arsenal approach this, because they got it all wrong against Manchester United, didn't they? I think both Lee and Don and Dan have said that they were poor against United, which they were, and they need to learn those lessons. But Liverpool will come good, and somebody at some point is going to find out that Liverpool aren't finished, and that will be in Arsenal's mind. I think Arsenal will be slightly more pragmatic, certainly for the first 15 minutes, to try to take control of the game rather than trying to be overly offensive and sort of win the game early doors, because that's risky against Liverpool.
We're going to get into the lineups now, people. Before we get into the lineups, a couple of questions came up. Sleeping Drag says, any Arsenal fans in the chat tell me why they called Ashburton? Before I had a chance to ask Lee, someone's already answered. He said,
yeah, well done.
Because the Emirates was called Ashburton Grove before the sponsorship deal, mate.
It was a dump before it was a stadium. Did you know that?
Mate, I tell you, I was there today, as I said, for something I've done with Turkish for AFTV, and I tell you what, it's a state-of-the-art stadium. I know it needs a lick of paint now, but it's a magnificent stadium, and you can imagine the frustration with Arsenal fans. Like, you gave us one of the best stadiums in Europe, I'd say, when it was built, but you forgot about the team. Yeah. Now you're remembering the team like 5-6 years later or something, if it's not more. But it is what it is. Lee, how do you expect to set up? Steve, I beg your pardon, says that he doesn't think that you're going to go gung ho. You've been making really fast starts this season, haven't you? You've been really going for the opposition, playing your game, high energy, and that line, that offside line. You don't play deep. You're brave. You really push up Saliba and Gabriel and Ben White. You really play on the halfway line. Are you going to do that against us?
Yeah, I think we will do. I think we'll be a little bit smart with it. But it's interesting to say if Liverpool play that, because Liverpool play that very, very, very similar as well. Like, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And if you're going to do that and let. I tell you, in the first half against Tottenham didn't do that. They played very, very deep, and we couldn't get Martinelli in so much. And then he went down a different route. But that is one thing. If you let Martinelli run, the boy can run. You know, so same as your guys. You know what I mean? But Liverpool over the years have backed their central defenders to mop up and cope with that, like, you know what I mean? And that's what we're looking to do a little bit now with what we've got with Saliba and Gabriel. The one good thing about them is that they're pacey. They're big, strong, and pacey. Like, so I think that'd be an interesting thing. I just think we've got to play smart against you. I don't think go gun ho. I think Steve's right. I think we've got to get somewhere in those little pockets and spaces between fullback and centre half, get Van Dijk out wide and see what can happen from there. Like, you know, he hasn't been the same player as he has, you know, so I think that, you know, never been looking to be got at for a very, very long time, you know, so it'd be interesting. I'll tell you one thing about Liverpool I've noticed, and I don't know if you guys have, like, even when they've not played well, they will continue to do the same sort of style. They're not going to go, all right, we're not playing well, so we're going to drop deep and whatever. They back themselves, whether they think it's right or wrong. You know, like even against the. And I'll tell you what, I know. You know what? I don't know how you felt back because you're playing a game. When you was playing against Fulham, I knew you weren't going to lose that game. I know it sounds silly, like, oh, you'll get a goal, you'll get a chance, you'll get going. In the end, probably as poor as Liverpool played that day, they could have actually won that game.
We hit the crossbar the last minute.
So, you know, they're not going to change. You're not going to change. So it'd be interesting to see if they do. Now, I say worry. I think it's a good thing from an Arsenal point of view. Why is he changing it against Rangers? You know what I mean? This has been a manager. No, I'm backing my players. When you think about it, a couple of years ago, and I admire Klopp for this, when he had so many injuries and they got into the top four, he continues with slow central defenders still playing the same way. Now all of a sudden he's just tinkering with it a little bit, like, and you know, and that's why I feel, you know, I say, like, get at Liverpool. This is the chance. I just think there's something not quite right with Liverpool at this moment in time. I don't know. I can't put my finger on it. Why is he looking to change? He's always been a brave manager. You know. Do you know there was one time Klopp? I don't think they won the game, and he come out and he turned around and he went, I'm proud of my players. I'm this, I'm that. They've done this and done that. And I was listening and I think, God, if I was a player, I'd want to play for him, because even though we've let him down today, he's come out here, we've put his chest out for us. I'm going to make sure I'm not going to let him down next week. He's not doing that so much now, like, you know what I mean? So I don't know. I don't know why that is. So it will be interesting. I think Arsenal will play the same sort of a way. I think that I still say first 15, 20 minutes can be interesting because Liverpool haven't started off well. So if you know, and I think he's even alluded to it, saying, well, we've got to start off well. And then all of a sudden you're coming out of the Emirates and like people are going, oh, Liverpool are 2-0 down at Brighton. Well, they're not listening to what he's saying there, like, you know. So if we can get in front now, listen, if we get in front and we get 2 goals in, then you know what I mean, I would back us, you know. So it'd be really, I think the first 20, 25 minutes would be interesting. I don't say we're going to go home, but we'll be looking to try and get on the front foot against you. And blimey, when was the last time we could do that? I think we've always played Liverpool, even when I in that League Cup tie, I thought we was fantastic that night. You know, defended really well, got the 10 men, and then you think, right, go and now win this game and be like
at the Emirates.
And we was a little bit, I don't know, we wasn't confident enough, you know, and you ended up winning the game and deservedly so. I don't want us to be like that. I want us to be pragmatic. I want us to go, right, you know, let's go for it. You know what I mean? Try and get in front and then see if Liverpool have to change. I think Liverpool got a little bit of a problem what they do up front. You know, I with this Núñez thing. Someone made a great point. No one would be going on about Núñez so much if it weren't for the Haaland signing. You know what I mean? It's just like there's a comparison. Say if Haaland, forget about him now. No one be going, oh, he's got to play Núñez, he's got to score goals. There's an false pressure being put on him, like, you know, when you can just think like, oh, right, well, he can have a season, like, you know, and then like next this kid will turn into be a fantastic player for Liverpool. Got no doubts about that. But I think there's been a little bit untold pressure coming onto him now. And maybe Klopp's finding this difficult. Look, he's got to leave out a big signing for the player. You know, do you know what I'm saying? Like, why have you bought him all that money when we could have strengthened in the midfield if you're not going to use him and things like that? I don't know. So it's an interesting debate, really, from that point of view. But Arsenal, I think that Arsenal going into the team selection, I think that I think Zinchenko may not be 100% fit, and I think Arteta will just use that as a little bit of an excuse, like, you know, okay, and play Tierney. And I think Tierney is a little bit more defensively stronger in that against Mo Salah, you know. So that's what I would do anyway, and so I think that would be important for us. That left side, if we can keep him quiet, he hasn't been at his best this season, but the way he's playing, he's still a good level, by the way. He's not playing crap, you know what I mean? It's just that he's set such a bloody high bar. It's hard sometimes to get that week in, year out. One question I've got to ask you guys, you know what I mean? Do you think like last season took a little bit out of you energy-wise, you know what I mean? Like playing every single game at a high tempo, and maybe it's just found it a little bit difficult this year?
Steve's the best man for that. Steve?
I think if you get that close to doing what's unthinkable,
unbelievable. Yeah.
There's a mental and a physical drop off in terms of, okay, we've just played 8 months every single game, and as good as they are, and we should be grateful for them. We came away with the League Cup and the FA Cup when we were sitting on the precipice of a Premier League title and a European title. We're only human. At the end of the day, there's a human factor to put into this, where you kind of go, Jesus, boys, we went through all of that, and the 2 big games didn't go our way. And there's a little bit of, okay, so we've got to go again. And you can't see into the hearts and minds of the Liverpool players and say, have you got it in you to go again? And I think that we've been flat this season, as well as, you know, other teams around us have started really strongly. Yeah, there's a little bit of a trade-off as to what happens. It was bound to happen. I think some of our midfielders, Fabinho in particular, is absolutely goosed. You know, he's a guy that, in the job that he does, covers so much ground, covers up spaces for the people. We didn't start the season well. Grizz and I have spoken about this quite firmly in debates before, and the RedFellas. a 6 is only as good as the 2 midfielders he's playing with. And I think at the start of the season, he got no cover from anybody. And he was damned if he did and damned if he didn't. And that always makes you look like you're not doing anything particularly well. So, yeah, I think last season has taken a physical and a mental toll on the team. And you have to find the challenges to recover from that. You have to find the things that make you go, actually, we're not going to Arsenal at the weekend on Sunday to give a poor account of ourselves. This is a game where we have to show the rest of the world what we're about. And when you're winning games, you forget about fatigue and you forget about the little niggles and you forget about the little injuries, because the euphoria of chasing trophies and possibly doing quadruples makes players forget about tiredness and fatigue. When things aren't going well, that's when players start to second guess fitness, mentality, tactics, and where they're at right now. But these guys are winners. These guys know how to win. These guys are successful footballers. And I don't think we see Liverpool form like this over the course of the season. But we need to improve, and we need to improve quickly. And I, for one, are looking to see something change for the game with you guys on Sunday. But there's definitely been a trade-off in terms of all of that effort.
There is. And look, at the end of the day, no one could have envisaged the start we've had. But if you really analyse it, and I'm glad Lee has brought it up, as opposed to us Liverpool fans bringing up the same shit, the same excuses, the same reasons or causations. Like, why is Liverpool like this? Why are they not like what they were? Why do they look tired already? Well, do you know what I mean? You heard it from an Arsenal fan looking from the outside. Because Lee, it can happen, can't it? Like when you play, like the mental drop off, like the physical fatigue, and it's not their fault. I'm sorry. What I mean by that is, I'm not making excuses, because we should have freshened it up. Like, we should have. The manager and the owners combined, and it's never one like people. Like, everyone can always call out FSG, or some mad people might just call out Klopp. It's always a combination of things. Klopp has got the power, I think, to call out and to make changes if he feels the need to make changes. But very famously or infamously, Lee, I compared Klopp to your man Wenger. And what I meant by that, Lee, and you're the best man to ask about this, Wenger used to always put up a brave face for the owners, right? Especially near the end of the time. And people used to go mad. Why is Wenger doing this? Why is he doing this? Or has he got the power? Now, we know Wenger had the power to make changes, right, if he wanted to. But do you see elements of what I meant by that in terms of stubbornness tactically and bringing in players? Like, he was very loyal, didn't he? Wenger became very loyal to his trusted soldiers because they had brought him success, but they were becoming a bit stale, right? Just like Liverpool's are. We've won every trophy there is to win. But Jurgen Klopp, there is certain sections of the fan base are saying, oh, he's being too loyal, change it up. But these great managers, loyalty is their strength, but it all can become a bit of a weakness for them as well, can't it?
Yeah, and I see what you're saying, but it's a very difficult one, fine line, because this is a manager, and this is also the players that have gone and got him 90 points in so many seasons. So, you know, which, by the way, would win the title every single time.
95% of the fucking time.
99% of the time.
Man United used to win titles with 83
Yeah,
points.
so have Arsenal. So it's incredible. So for that and first and foremost. The other thing, that the problem that you've got is I think, two players that, yes, get a lot of credit from the outside looking in players like Milner and Henderson. Milner is a fantastic squad player to come on for 10, 15 minutes, see out games and all that, and everything like that. He's been starting games for you in midfield. That tells you that's a problem. That's a problem when you've got a player of that age starting games for you. That's nothing against him there. I think he's a fantastic player. Jordan Henderson, who's been a marvellous player for Liverpool, is just picking up little niggly injuries all the time. Now, with those niggly injuries, is okay. You get yourself fit. You need 1 or 2 games to get back to that maximum that you are. And then when he gets to that maximum where he is again, he gets injured again. So he has to start all over again. So you're never, ever getting a run of 10, 11 Jordan Hendersons that you would be getting when they was getting, winning things and winning things and winning things. Thiago's got a little thing about this hamstring injuries all the time. Now, if you're a player and you continue getting hamstring injuries, are you going to overstretch for that last little bit there? It's in your mind, well, maybe I won't. So there's a mental side of it there, like, you know. Also, which is, I think this is a point. If you're safe in a league season and you miss it out by 1 point one season, and you've done everything you can, you think, right, let's go again. We can do this. We can do this and that. And then you go again and you do it and you miss out. You get 90 points again and you still miss out. All of a sudden, you're thinking, you know, what do we have to do? Then you go through last season when you play every single game. And I'm not saying it because I'm just on the Liverpool channel here, like, you know, you get ridiculed for only winning 2 trophies. People go, oh, you only won the FA Cup and League Cup, like, you know what I mean? Because the 2 main ones, you lost in the final and lost in by a point. When you think about it, like, there's a lot of teams that would bite your hands off for that, and you've been ridiculed for it a little bit, like, you know. What Liverpool done last season was unbelievable, and at one stage it looked like they was going to win. I'll tell you this now: if you'd have won the League Cup, the league on that last day of the season, the Champions League would have been a formality. They would have just breezed through and won that.
100%.
It's just because you didn't win that game there. There was a little bit of, I don't know, doubt and whatever, like, blah, blah, blah. It is an unbelievable achievement what Liverpool could have done. But it all, you know, it's hard to go again. And I don't know if the managers fit. And also then you have to think about it then. Right, okay. We've got 90 points. What can we do? They've gone and bought Haaland. You know what I mean? Like, that's another kick in the old ghoulies, like, you know what I mean? There's another kick in the ghoulies when you think, like, the season before that, they spent like 100 million on Grealish, who's not quite hit the straps running, all that. No one's having a real go at him like they are. Nunes, by the way, had a poor season last season. There's been a little bit more of a, I don't know, like, well, that's all right. He's got, you know, his sympathy. Yeah, a little bit like, oh, he's got a bed in and all that. Now I see Grealish turning and you think, Jesus, like, you know what I mean? Not only now they've had a half crap Grealish last season, we still won the bloody league. They've now got a bloody, like, good Grealish and a Haaland. It's a mentally tough situation, like, you know what I mean? Like, now for Arsenal, it's, it's an energy in it. Like, we're at the beginning of it, and we can, like, energize from trying to take on Man City. But the fact of the matter is, you're going through a season where you're thinking, City are going to win it. You know, Dan turned around and said, like, you know, we're in October, and Liverpool ain't going to win it. Arsenal ain't going to win it. You know, so mentally that must be really, really tough on Liverpool. And Liverpool are the players that have brought them and got them there are getting that little bit older now. And, you know, Van Dijk, for instance, what a player he is, like, by the way, has picked up a knee injury that, you know, that's not, it's just not brought him back, but it's brought him back into the, you know, from where he was up here. He's now
like Superman. Now he looks like just
he's come back into the pack a little bit, like, you know. It's just, you know, like, I always said, thank God for Man City when and you guys when you was in your pomp that Tottenham were going well, because you know, you stopped them winning things. So I thank you for that. So I think it's a really difficult fit. Like, and Liverpool haven't got the money. I know it says, like, this is the thing with me. Look, you know, when I'm not saying it because I'm on a Liverpool channel. When people go at me, who's the best manager, Klopp or Pep? I always go Klopp, because I tell you that now, Pep would not have got that Liverpool team into the top 4. Wasn't working out with Ake. What's he do? Go and spends another £50 million on Diaz. Like, you know, Liverpool cannot do it. Liverpool can't go out in January and go, do you know what? It ain't working with Nunes, so we're going to spend another 100 million. They can't do that. They've got to make it work. You know what I mean? With Pep, if that ain't working, I'll go and get another one. Like, so it's a, you know, so it must be taking its time, a toll all the time on a manager, mentally as well as physically, like, for the players as well. So it's a difficult one, like, you know. So we're all up against a machine, aren't we? Like, a money-making powerhouse is going to take its toll.
I think you're right, mate. And I think Liverpool. Sorry, Grizz. I think Liverpool's owners bought Liverpool for £300 million off the back of the disaster from Gillette and Hicks, and are now at 1,400% profit in terms of the club's current value. It was only ever a business deal for FSG. There's been things they've done. They've improved the ground, improved the training ground, improved things on the pitch. They would never use £500 million of the net worth of the football club to strengthen the team. They're just not built like that. Manchester City is a rich man's toy where money is no object, and it's not been done as a business transaction. Admittedly, their infrastructure is really good with Soriano and Bergestein, who came across with the Barcelona movement into City to improve them and make them infrastructure-wise really strong. But Liverpool is the front and centerpiece of FSG's portfolio, and that's the key word, portfolio. This is going to buy a series of football clubs across the globe and become a sporting monopoly of teams and clubs from various leagues. They're looking at Germany, they're looking at Brazil. They'd never promised to match Manchester City pound for pound. They never promised to do that. And you're right. Jurgen Klopp has got a lot of these players, certainly in the earlier days, to overachieve and get 110% out of them, certainly in the sort of first 3 or 4 years. That can't run indefinitely because it's like trying to get blood out of a stone. It'll stop. You just can't get it all the time. So you're right. They go and buy Haaland and you think, wow, okay, they've just made a good team even better. And they're absolutely flying at the moment, this is the thing. This is where good managers are tested by. Can Klopp get Liverpool to go again? You're 100% right, Lee, and that's the question on everybody's lips, including Liverpool fans. You're not wrong in anything you said there.
It's going to be a tall order in terms of league title charge. I think it's going to be huge. It's going to be massive. I think a lot is going to rest on how the two teams line up tactically. I think Lee was talking about, when I asked him about the offside line, he's right. Are Liverpool going to play in equally the same brave manner that we played usually, and especially against Rangers in the Champions League where we played all four? Steve, I want to come to you first and then ask you what you think our lineup's going to be then in that case, because there is a lot of decisions to be made. Dan was saying earlier he's not sure about the sort of the connection with our forwards since Mane's gone, and he makes a very good point. And obviously everyone knows about the state of our midfield. What do you think? Talk to me. How do you think we set up against these guys?
I think the goalkeeper and the back four pick themselves because Robertson's not available.
So any chance of Khanage coming in because he's got the physique and the pace and the power to come up against Martinelli and Jesus, who drifts to the left, help out Trent? Anything in your head that may...
If we were a week further down the line in terms of his rehabilitation and his strengthening and conditioning and getting himself match fit, more likely to play against Rangers than Arsenal for that reason, because that will be physically a less demanding game because of all the things you've just said. Matip does surprisingly well against quick forwards. He's not slow. He just looks like he's slow, but actually he isn't. And I think defender IQ-wise, Matip's considerably higher than Khanage based on experience and understanding what it is to be a centre-back because he's not 22. And there's a big difference between the two in that regard. Yeah. So I think the goalkeeper will be Alisson. It'll be Tsimikas, Van Dijk, Matip and Trent. I think, and I'm not necessarily happy with this. I think he goes with the tried and tested trio in midfield of Henderson, Fabinho and Thiago, purely because Partey, Odegaard and Xhaka will be where that game's won and lost. As much as I like Harvey Elliott, he plays 10 to 15 yards further up the pitch than Henderson will, and that leaves an area behind him for Arsenal to exploit, and I think that they probably would. And I think the front three will be Diaz, Jota and Salah. I see that being the front three.
Interesting. I done a box to box with Turkish for AFTV, and when he asked me the lineup and possible lineup, I suggested that Thiago is a slight doubt. It's breaking now over the internet that Thiago is a slight doubt for Sunday. Now that will be monumental blow for us. probably Lee's smiling inside. He's not showing it right now, but inside he's thinking, "Oh, Thiago."
That would be nice.
Would that change anything? Well, of course it would change something, Lee, Steve. What happens if Thiago misses out? What'd you do?
Well, you can't put Carvalho in there because he's an 8/10 for me. That's the positions he wants to take up where he can affect the game. I don't think you can put Elliott in there with Fabinho and Henderson. We've tried that and it doesn't work. Maybe Grizz, maybe that's the catalyst to say, do you know what? We do what we did in midweek and we play Fabinho and Henderson as a double pivot and we say to Arsenal, right, actually, where we are in the league at the moment, our expectations have changed. We're looking for top 4. We're going to give it a go, guys. We're going to ask you lots and lots of questions because we're going to play totally on the front foot. People haven't been trying that with Arsenal this season, so it'd be a new challenge for Arsenal as well. I cannot see the sense in playing a Carvalho or an Elliott in the midfield 3 because both of them want to play as a sort of an advanced midfielder, adding a little bit to the front line. Then don't do that. Then do what you do and say to Jota and Núñez, go and ask serious questions of Arsenal, push them back, pen them back. If you've got a high line like that, you've got those guys. And what we have seen, particularly against Rangers, is Darwin Núñez's movement is sensational. I get Torres vibes off his movements. He creates space for himself to get shots off within 2 or 3 yards, and there'll be people in the chat who'll rip me to bits for that, and I don't really care. I can see the movement, and Jota is a goal scorer, has a good record against Arsenal, and after an hour you bring Bobby Firmino on and you keep the ball. So if Thiago doesn't make it, it would be bold, it would be ballsy, it would be whatever you want to call it. You go 4-2-3-1 or 4-2-4, whatever you choose to do at whatever time you do it in the game, and you say to Arsenal, we're coming to your backyard and we're going to ask you loads and loads of questions defensively.
Lee, tell us your lineup. We want the proper lineup. Don't give us a dodgy lineup. I got to pass this on to Klopp and Co. So go on and hit us with your lineup that you think will start.
Trial and tested. I think Ramsdale obviously being goal, right back Ben White, Saliba and Gabriel. I think that Tierney will play because I think there's a slight doubt on Zinchenko at the moment. So I think that's where it seemed funny that he took him off with about 60 minutes, 65 minutes, when realistically he needed minutes, Tierney. So I think that there was an element in that. Midfield speaks for itself. Partey, Xhaka and Odegaard, front 3 of Saka, Jesus and Martinelli. So it's a strong side.
Do you mind? But this is it. Imagine we asked these questions, I don't know, months gone by, years gone by, couldn't work out what the partnership's going to be in the midfield, the defense, the left back, right back. Now you're so settled. It's amazing when you have the settled lineup. Like when Liverpool, we always name our strongest lineup every week, no issue. And that's when teams are at their best, when they know continuity, same systems of play, same phase of play. You know where's where, and you've got that at Arsenal now. Everyone knows where they're going to be all the time.
Yeah, we've got that, and also I still think this is a key factor, and I think it'll be a key factor in this game. We was able to rest 8 players on
the weekend,
on the week, where I don't, obviously like Thiago might have picked up an injury now because of that, and you've got to think about the next game and whatever, and I just think that's a slight advantage to Arsenal, is that we've been able to give Jesus a little bit of a rest, going to be a little bit fresh, you know what I mean? So I do think that it's a key thing. We could actually play Tierney for 60-70 minutes on Thursday and then take him off. There was no pressure. The game was quite comfortable, so I do think that's a key thing. So and I think that's maybe one of the things at the moment which could sway it for us, is that we can rest certain players. Partey, for instance, that hasn't had to play. So, and he's a key player to us. So
absolutely,
hopefully he's got the legs in midfield to dominate.
I think, Steve, we're going to go pretty similar in terms of how we went Rangers. I just think it's going to be different personnel. I think Bobby comes in. We start with Bobby. I agree with you, the back 4. Tsimikas, Robertson's a huge loss, He just knows how to play against Arsenal. He always has a good game against Arsenal. And Saka, especially Robertson, Saka. Trent's got a huge game up against Martinelli, the whole world's eyes are going to be on that. Do you know what I mean? Trent against Martinelli. I think we're going to be very, very brave, Steve. I genuinely do. And this could be making of an absolute crackerjack of a game, because they're not going to hold back. I know you think they're going to be a bit more pragmatic, a bit more careful, but I genuinely think they've got nothing to lose. And we have got something to lose, because if we lose, the title's already over. But if we lose, it's 100% over. Like, kiss it goodbye completely. Like, forget about, we clawed back 14 points last season and we've done it before. And no, stop. If we lose on Sunday, stop. It's a top 4 battle straight up. So I think we're going to go for it. I genuinely think. I don't think we're going to play on the back foot, try to control it, try to calm the crowd down. I genuinely think we're going to, like you said, no one's taken the game to Arsenal this season. Maybe Fulham, maybe Lee. Has anyone taken the game to you at home? Like, no one's been able to really get at you.
Not really. I think like
Man United played on the counter attack.
Yeah, Man United playing the counter attack. We missed chances that day. I think Villa, we should have been out of sight against Villa in the first half, but the more it was only 1-0. We got a little bit nervous, if I'll be honest, and they come back at us a little bit and got the equaliser from a corner, but we scored straight away. So yeah, we've been able to dominate most teams that we have with possession play, so like Tottenham last week wasn't a test for us because they just played into our hands really and just defended. And
that's what I mean. We're not going to do that.
No. If you do, I'll be very, very surprised. I think that Liverpool have got a little bit more ambition than Tottenham, if I'll be honest. So and that's not a criticism of Tottenham, that's the way they play. Fulham, by the way, were sort of like dismissed for that. It was all about how poor Liverpool were, but they've proved to be a difficult. Probably our most toughest test so far this season has been Fulham. And we got over the door in that one. So listen, at the end of it, Liverpool have got good players that can damage anybody at any one time. So we've got to be at our very, very best to beat you. We know that. We've got to play well. We've done it last week. We played really, really well against Spurs and got the job done. It will be an interesting game. I ain't going to lie, but I just think that we're in good form at the moment, and perhaps you're trying to look for form, and that may be just the case. I think home form. I think you go to the Emirates on Sunday, and you'll see a different Emirates. The atmosphere is completely different there, and I think you'll go, wow, it's changed. So I hope so anyway, and I hope you have a really horrible Sunday. There you go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Question for you, Lee, just a quick one. If Liverpool do go 4-2-4, which if Thiago's not there, is very likely, and which will change to a 4-2-3-1, depending on how the game's going, surely that changes the approach Arsenal have to play with, because that's a very front foot, very attacking formation. And if you come out and open up, that really doesn't fit in very well with that.
Well, I think if you do play that, then we've got the ability to play around it, and I think that's where we can do, and then get you into that. I think Odegaard then will have the little pockets
space
if we can get it through those lines, and we've got players that are capable of doing that. It's a difficult one. Listen, Núñez has got to come and do something somewhere along the line. And I'm hoping that it's not this week, and perhaps next week he does it against Man City. That'd be nice. But I think that if you do underload in midfield, I think that we've got the players to expose it. I really do, and playing in and around that. It's intriguing. It's really intriguing. The one thing I will go back and say, it's okay playing Rangers in that system at home at Anfield. You know what I mean? Like one game, you're going up against a tried and trusted formula. Arsenal playing this week in, week out. You're learning on the job a little bit with that system where you've not played it for a certain time. I'd be very, very surprised if you do. And I think, does it show a little bit? I don't know if it shows a little bit of weakness, but it looks like a little bit of, well, hold on a minute. We're a little bit, not fearful, but we're not quite confident in what we're doing. We're not quite confident.
That's what I was thinking. Do you know that, lads? Steve, that's what I was thinking. Because if he's done it at Rangers, right?
Yeah.
Why has he done it against Rangers? Has he done it to give the players more confidence, like Trent and Nunes, who had far better games, right? Or does he think this is a way of playing a lot of the time? Now, I'd like to think it's a way of playing more of the time. Then why are you going to change it against Arsenal? And then he's going to look like almost like a coward, like reverting to type, like Lee says, like you're. It's.
I'm not putting it down to cowardice, or sometimes you've got
not coward. Yeah, that's a bit OTT,
yeah,
but
I think sometimes you can only play with the players you've got. You know, when a manager goes into a football club and wants to build a system, all he can do is use the players he's got until he gets the bodies in the right places to do what ultimately he wants to do. Without Thiago, we don't have bodies in the middle of the park to do what he wants to do in terms of a 4-3-3. So what you do is you change the dynamic of what you do to ask questions. All the Rangers game did was allow us a snapshot to look at what we might see in the future, and to see what movement we've got, and to see what angles we can create, and what the proposition is, and where Rangers press resistant. And we know from playing Manchester City, Zinchenko isn't particularly press resistant to what Liverpool's game plan is. Put another body up front. You ask the fullback on the right-hand side, are you press resistant? Someone's put in the chat, you haven't seen Saliba yet. I have, mate, and he's an absolutely superb footballer, and the world is that kid's oyster, really is. God knows where his ceiling is, but nowhere near it. There's a different set of questions, and I understand it. I would rather do that than if you could, say, for instance, pluck a Curtis Jones out of obscurity and throw him in the middle three, where he clearly would be out of his depth because he's not played. You're almost better sometimes, and this was a thing that Liverpool did for years and years and years, is worry about what you do, make sure you do it well, and typically that's been enough to get across the line. So we shouldn't be setting ourselves up because we're fearful of what Arsenal do, because Odegaard will find space no matter what you do. You put yourself in a position where you say, we've got two electric wide men, and we have. Diaz is absolutely ridiculous how quickly he gets the ball out of his feet and gets at people. You've got Nunes, who needs to get off the ground, as Lee says. It needs to start somewhere. Why not Arsenal? And you've got Jota, who's got a track record of scoring against Arsenal. So what you're actually saying to them is, boys, you know, this top four race will not be defined by win, lose, or draw at Arsenal on Sunday. It's a season-long thing, the top four race. The league's gone. I'm not even looking at the league title anymore. That, for us, is finished. This is a much better Manchester City side than we chase down 14 points because they're going to continue to score goals like they're going out of fashion. What we need to do is, with the bodies we've got available, is make ourselves confident in what we do. And we created 29 chances against Rangers. If you create 10 chances at the Emirates, you're doing well. If you take a couple of those chances, you're doing really well. So I think we do it because we have to, not because we're fearful of what we are or what Arsenal are.
Guys, I don't think we could have built this up any more than we have. I think I'm well excited now. Hoping to catch Lee out there, hopefully, before the game. We'll have a little catch-up, Lee. But thank you very, very much for coming on, mate.
No worries. Enjoyed it, boys. Enjoyed it.
Mate. Good to have you, Lee. Nice to meet you, fella.
Yeah, lovely to meet you too, Steve.
People, thank you very much for tuning in. This has been a magnificent little chat. Really enjoyed it. Time's flown. Bloody hell. There was me thinking 45, 50 minutes. And we've waffled on for 1 hour, 25. But you guys have stuck with us. Lee's been fantastic. Shout out to Dan. Make sure you go out and check Dan's channel. It's going to be linked in the description. Make sure you check out Lee Judge's TV as well. Fantastic work he's doing out there. And of course, the magnificent Steve Plunkett on Redmen TV, of course. This has been Pre-Match Carnage, Arsenal, Liverpool, Sunday. I can't wait now. We've proper built this up. This better be a humdinger, people. Over and out. Take care.